the first steam room of the new year. Welcome
Happy
to 2024.
2024, y'all.
How about you, Chuckster? How was New Year's for
New
you?
Year's was good, just kind of chilled out.
Was it a low-key New
Very
Year's
low-key.
Eve?
You know, that's amateur night.
Did you make it to midnight?
Yes, I made it to midnight. But it was really cool, relaxing. Hey, shout out. Man, I'm glad the holidays are over. I just want to wish everybody, I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And now we're on to 2024. I hope everybody have a great, great new year.
How many more days are you allowed to say Happy New Year?
Yeah, so I was having that
Because here we are on January 5th as we record.
Yes, so I was talking to Snyder. Don't worry about it. She's a nobody. She works here at TNT. Just kidding. She's one of my favorite people. She went to Auburn just like Chuck did. Shout out to the Auburn Nation. Snyder, I love you. I'm just kidding. She asked me that question. I said, Happy New Year. And I said, when I walked in the studio today, I said, Happy New Year. It's the first time I've seen you guys. But this pretty much the limit. Today's going to be my last day.
What if you see somebody tomorrow you haven't seen? January 6th is too late. January 5th is fine, but January 6th is too late.
There's got to be a cutoff date at some point, Ernie.
With a week.
A week?
A week.
And that's, okay, yeah, okay, I can live with a week.
Yeah.
By the end of this week, there's no more Happy New Year's.
All right.
Okay.
I got you.
Big weekend, though. A lot of big-time football games this weekend. A lot of big-time football games this weekend.
Is this your first of all, or
No,
are you just pointing that out?
No, I'm going to start
There's
out.
a national championship game on Monday.
Yeah, I got to talk a little football later.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start out with a couple sad notes. One, I didn't know this man, but he was a great actor. His name was Tom Wilkinson. You would know him if you saw his face. He passed away in the last week, but he was a fantastic actor. He was in a bunch of different movies. But go online and rest in peace to Mr. Tom Wilkinson. But you would know his face. He was in a lot of different things. Couple Oscar nominations, won a couple BAFTAs, which is the English equivalency of the Oscars. But you would know him if you saw his face. So rest in peace, Mr. Wilkinson. Now, this one is very personable to me. This guy passed away. His name was Super Snake. He was like the man in Phoenix when it come to being a DJ. I don't even know his real name, but his DJ name was Super Snake.
Like DJ on the radio?
Yes.
Okay.
When I got traded to Phoenix in 1992, he had the #1 radio show in Phoenix. We became really, really good friends all these years. Really good person. Really good person. He's going to be missed. I probably should find out his real name. I don't know if anybody has ever called his nickname, like Shaq goes by Shaq Diesel. Snake's name was Super Snake. And like I say, he had the #1 DJ job, radio show in Arizona for 30, 40 years. Just a really good dude. Passed away in the last few days over the weekend. And I just want to say, Super Snake, you was a good dude, man. Rest in peace. Just a good brother. Hey, man, it was an honor and a privilege to call you a friend. So, Super Snake, rest in peace. Okay, that's enough serious stuff. The college football playoff. First of all, let me say something. Man, y'all got to do something about these shitty bowls.
Won't some of that be taken care of when they expand the field?
Yeah, but they got to kill some bowls. They can't be having all these bowls, Ernie, because the bowl system is broken. It's flat out broken. And Kirby Smart, who I really like and have a lot of respect for, said, hey, man, he said, y'all got to fix this. Y'all got to fix this. Florida State shows up without 20 of their best players because they opted out. Now, I've already on the record, Florida State got shafted. They did, plain and simple. They should have been in the playoffs, no disrespect to any other team. They should not have been penalized for
the injury to the quarterback.
Yes, but because they still won 3 games without him. But I'm not going to go on a tangent. I just want to say, man, we got to fix we got too many bowls. We got way too many bowls. 6 and 6 should not get you in a bowl. And if you're going to have playoffs, we got to shorten the season. We got to shorten the season. We can't have these kids out there playing 2 or 3 extra football games. It's not fair to their bodies because some of these kids going to have brain injuries down the line in life. We can't be adding football games to these guys' bodies. It ain't right. It ain't fair. So we got to figure a way to play less football games because I just don't think it's fair. I don't know personally because I was a coward and quit football after one day. But I know, talking to my NFL friends and people who coach college football, playing 2 extra football games, maybe 3 extra football games, that's
the wear and tear.
That's a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot.
I'm with you.
So we got to find a way to if we're gonna play an extra 2 or 3 games, we got to shorten the season, and you gotta make the money up in the playoffs. Quit playing these shit bowl games. I don't want to call out any bowl games, but
you know who you are.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
How about the games that you did see, Chuckster?
2 of the best football games I've seen in a long time.
Were you surprised by the outcomes?
I hit both games. I had Michigan and Washington. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Nick Saban. You guys know how much I like Coach Saban. Getting that mediocre team to the playoffs is coaching genius. I know a lot of people gonna go big game hunt and try to say Alabama. Alabama had a fabulous season.
Then that's better than mediocre.
Well, that team is not good. Him getting them to the playoffs is like winning big. If you watched Alabama play, I watched them play.
I wouldn't call them a mediocre team.
They were the worst team out of the 4. That's why they were ranked 4.
I wouldn't call them a mediocre team.
Okay, we can disagree.
We do.
That was not one of Coach Saban's best teams.
Yeah. But I think mediocre's a little harsh.
Getting them to the playoffs, it shows about his greatness.
Okay.
Yes. Because let's be honest, Michigan was the better team.
Sure.
Michigan was the better team.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and him to get them to overtime is like a win. Because this was not one of Alabama's better team. If you actually follow the eye test, when I saw him play in person in Auburn, which they should have lost that game, but also if you watch that Michigan game, you're like, man, if Michigan can score, they're going to win the game. So shout out to them. Washington against Texas, what a great game, man. Both games were fabulous. I'm going with Washington to win the championship. That man, Mr. Penix Jr., he be slanging that thing. And let me tell you something. That number 1, Odunze, man, if you throw it in his neighborhood, he going to catch it. They got 3 of the best wide receivers I've seen on the same team. Mr. Penix has overcome 2 ACLs. Not 1, 2 ACLs.
And he throws a laser, man.
He drop it in there. All they got to do is raise their hand.
He's fun to watch.
In there. He is.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to Steve Sarkisian.
Right.
Man, I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. What you've done with your life, first and foremost. I'm proud of you as a man, and you've done a hell of a job coaching in Texas. So, I actually really like all 4 coaches. I like Jim Harbaugh, Mr. Khaki. And
who's got it better than us?
That's it.
Nobody.
So those were, like I say, even though I thought Florida State got screwed, and Georgia probably, let's be honest, Georgia's probably one of the 4 best teams. Georgia's probably one of the 4 best teams. But those 2 games were fabulous. I had both games right. Shout out to my casino brothers. And I'm all in on Washington. I'm all in on Mr. Penix.
What's the early line on that game?
4.5.
And you're taking Washington and the points.
I'm taking Washington. They were getting 3.5 against Texas, and they tried to give it away. But I thought Michigan was the best team that I saw all year offensively and defensively. They proved me to be correct. But their offense was, obviously you got to give Alabama defense some credit. But, man, Washington is going to score on anybody. Washington can flat out score on anybody. Like I say, that number 1, Mr. Odunze, man, he is a pleasure to watch. But, man, I'm looking forward to the game. So it's been an incredible football season. The committee got lucky because both games were fabulous. But like I said, I still ain't going to get over them screwing Florida State. And just because, and I know, this is what I hate about punk-ass reporters like myself on television and radio.
Hold it. You just called yourself that?
Well, because we're all punks. We go on TV and radio and say what you want to say, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But the punk-ass guys, like I said, I'm not going to change my opinion on Florida State. But these punk-ass guys on television and radio like, see, I told you Florida State wasn't no good. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. That's not true. That's not true. They didn't have all, they had 20 opt-outs. If you're going to do this job, you got to always be fair and honest. Don't have selective amnesia. And that was not Florida State's fault that all those guys opted out and they got beat by a terrific Georgia team. So just because they lost 6-3, that doesn't mean the committee was right. That does not mean that. Because I guarantee if those kids were playing for the championship, those 20 players wouldn't have opted out. So, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Been a great year. Been a great football season. And I'm going to finish up with, hey, can't wait for next year.
So that's it for First of All.
That's it for First of All.
Good. That's that we can move on.
Yes, we can.
And I can't wait until you hear from our next guest, our guest on this
I'm
episode.
looking forward to that.
A world traveler.
Like you.
And you will recognize him from some days at NBA TV.
The Starters.
The Starters.
One of my favorite shows.
Now he travels the world just playing pickup hoop. Sounds like a fascinating story, does it not? And it is. You'll hear it next. Back inside the steam room with our first episode of 2024.
Man, starting the new year off right is awesome.
And this, I'm telling you, this man you see here, Leigh Ellis, who you probably remember from his days with the Starters, which you saw on NBA TV.
Yes.
No Dunks podcast on The Athletic. And there's probably no person in the world who has more of a memory bank bursting at the seams from 2023 than you do. I can't wait to get into your story, Leigh, because of this 2020. 20 cities and 20 countries playing 20 games of pickup basketball.
Right. Yep.
It's amazing. and some might say what's amazing is the fact that you left what you were doing to pursue this. So how did that happen?
Yeah, well, I'd been covering the NBA professionally for like 11 years. And then during the pandemic, no one really knew what was going on and everyone was sort of shut down for a year and a half or so. My wife and I, we got vaccinated and we said, you know what, it's time to just get out again. And so we went to Europe. And I was in Berlin at a Sunday afternoon at this flea market, and there was a court there. And these guys were playing, and I just decided to sort of turn up on the court, and I just sort of said, can I join in? And they did. They let me play. And so we started playing. And my son, who was 9 at the time, he was filming it. And so I put these clips up on my Instagram, and they're not great clips. It's not like I'm out there, busting guys down and hitting fadeaway jumpers. But there's something about the connection of just being in a different city, not speaking the language, and just playing basketball and having fun. And so what happened was I got all these messages from people all around the world saying, if you're ever in my city in Tokyo or Brazil or Greece, come out and we'll get a game going. And I sort of didn't think much of it. And then the following year, we went traveling again to Europe. We actually went to Egypt, and I was messaging a guy and I said, can you get me a run in Egypt? And he tried and he couldn't get me one. But on the way back, I was coming through Rome and Barcelona. And so on my Instagram, I put a story up and I said, I'm going to be in Rome if anyone can get a game for me. And I got literally thousands of or views on my stories, and people saying, this is the thing, people saying, come to Denmark, come to South Africa, come to Kenya. No one said come to Rome. They didn't have a run for me. But the guy said, if you do make it to Barcelona, I've got a run for you. I said, all right, I'll do that. And so I did the same thing. I went to Barcelona, we played, I put the videos up on Instagram, and I just got deluged with all these offers. And so this was in the off season, and I came home and I said to my wife, God, there's something here. There's something there that if I take people up on these offers and go around the world and try to play pickup basketball, I think I could turn this into a docu-series, like a Netflix series or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it obviously took a lot of conversation between me and her because it was going to mean a sacrifice of walking away from the No Dunks podcast, the security of that job, to take a risk. But my wife, she's the most amazing person I've ever met. She was supportive the whole time. She
until
said,
today. To the day.
And she was like, go for it.
Yeah.
Let's go for it, you know?
So I'm going to answer this question. I know what your answer is going to be, I think, because then I want to answer the question. What does basketball mean to you?
Basketball is a language. It's a communication tool. Because I've been to cities and countries where they don't speak English. And you can step on a court and it doesn't matter.
They speak hoop.
They speak basketball. Boys, girls, men, women. No one's like, what's your background? Who's your team? Who's your favorite player? If you're on a court and there's a ball and there's players, let's play. In Belgrade, I was at this incredible court at the fortress there, 2,500-year-old fortress. There were these three guys playing. I was dressed in jeans and a sweater because I was planning for a run for the next day, but I just wanted to go and check out the court. There were these three guys there playing, and they saw me and they sort of were like, and I was like, so I assumed they were Serbian guys. We're in Serbia. They were Russian. Now, they didn't speak. One guy spoke a little bit of English. The other two guys didn't speak any. But it's pretty quickly, they're like, we know that 4 players is better than 3,
right.
2 on 2. We started playing. It was incredible. And so, like how much of basketball is a communication between non-verbal? It's like set a pick. I know what this guy's going to do. Run a play. Who's someone who's a shooter. The guy's strength is driving inside. You got to box out. All those non-verbal communication tools are just exemplified on a basketball court where it's not like, I can't remember that guy's name or it doesn't matter.
That's not the answer I thought I was going to get. But it's similar to, for me, basketball means everything. I've been asked this question, and I said, I don't even know. I'm not even going to make up something. What would you have done if you didn't play basketball? I said, I got 0 idea. But I know that little ball has given me every single thing in my life. I mean, that little ball sent me to college, sent me to the NBA, sent me to Nike, sent me to TNT, all because of that little ball. I love basketball for that simple aspect. That's first and foremost. It's given me every single thing in my life. Is it important as being a teacher or a fireman, policeman, or somebody who's in the armed service? No. But the singularity of that little ball has, you said something interesting. Man, I've been to countries. There's no way if I was Charles Barkley the plumber, now don't be calling in saying I'm saying bad stuff about plumbers, jackasses. But if I was Charles...
Welcome to my world.
But seriously, if I was Charles Barkley the plumber, or electrician or something, I wouldn't have been able to go all over the world. That's why I have so much love and respect for the game of basketball. And when I played, I tried to be like, hey, man, you got the best job. You're the luckiest dude in the world. And the second thing is, to piggyback on your point, growing up in Alabama, racism is very in the air. But when I got on the basketball court, white guys, black guys, man, it was such a wonderful feeling. The guys that you play with, you don't care about race, you don't care about ethnicity, you don't care about the language barrier. That's the second part of the puzzle for me. Like, you play with white guys. Like, yeah, man, y'all don't even live in the same neighborhood, but y'all become brothers. One of my best friends in the world is a guy named Pep Mock. There's a guy named Stanley Mink, Todd Burkhoff. These are people from Leeds, people who mean a great deal to me who are not black. I mean, I felt such a bond with these guys. But to piggyback on your point, when you go to foreign countries, man, Nike, I give Nike a lot of credit. When I was really, really young, they used to take us to these different countries, even before it became popular. Like, everybody talk about 92 and the Dream Team, but one thing I give credit for Nike, man, they were taking us to Germany, Spain, France, way back, Japan, China. They were taking us back overseas in the mid 80s. And I was like, man, these people don't speak a lick of our language, but they understand basketball, to piggyback on your point.
Well, that's the thing is every kid who picks up a basketball has the same dream of making it to the NBA. I mean, that's ultimately where you want to go. Most don't. You're the exception.
Yes.
The 0.00001% of people who go on to make the NBA. But the passion and the way you feel about the game is the same. The basketball's been in my life as well. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be in this position if basketball hadn't birthed me into this world.
So when did that take hold? You grow up in Australia.
Yep.
You start playing basketball when? When you're...
So I'm the third of three boys, and so my two older brothers played basketball, and so did my dad, and mum played netball, which is a big sport in Commonwealth countries.
Right.
And in Australia, we have Australian rules football, obviously, and cricket, but they're like winter, summer sports. Basketball, though, is all year round because it's an indoor sport. So some of the earliest memories I have are going up to the basketball stadium as a 5-year-old, watching my brothers play and my dad play, and it became more than just a game. It was a social interaction. From a small town of about 30,000 people, you'd meet, friends and families and things like that. So I sort of naturally just, you're like, oh, you're old enough, you can start playing basketball. But the big turning point in my life was in 1987 when my oldest brother, this is before cable TV and the internet. My brother got hold of the 1987 All-Star game, your first All-Star game.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I don't know if you remember it too much about
Seattle.
Yep. Now,
you never forget the first one.
Now, do you remember that game, like what happened at the end?
I do not.
So the West were trailing the East by 2 points.
But you never forget your first one.
Yeah. The West were trailing the East by 2 points with 3 seconds to go. And Pat Riley was coaching the West, and he drew up a play. Rolando Blackman popped out. He was going to take a jump shot. He drives inside. 4 players from the East jump on Rolando Blackman. Isaiah belts him across the head. So he's fouled. Time's run out. 2 free throws. Rolando Blackman steps up. Confidence, baby, confidence. Knocks down 2 free throws. The West go on in overtime to win that game in the Kingdome in Seattle. Tom Chambers was MVP.
Yep.
First replacement player ever to be a starter and to go on and win MVP. Right now, I was 11 years old at the time, and I was a big WWF fan, right? So we were watching, King Kong Bundy and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Just like Chuck was.
Well, so when I turned on this...
First off, if you don't mention Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen, I'm going to just come across the Woo!
Well, so the thing is, when I turned on this All-Star game, I heard Magic Johnson, Dr. J, Larry Bird, these same sort of mythical names. And then you see the finish, and I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest sport there is. And the All-Star game back then, apart from the finals, was pretty much the key game of the season. I think that was the...
we were still tape delayed. You only got one game on Sunday.
Exactly, yeah. And so that 87 All-Star game, all of a sudden I was like, all right, I've got to do everything I can to get any highlights, any NBA action. So I used to go down to the news agency and they would have the Hoop magazine and Basketball Digest, Street and Smith. We would get these like 6 months after they happened.
Right.
And I would walk in with my pocket money, like $3, and I'm like, have you got any NBA magazines? And they're like, yeah, here you go. It's like $3.50. And I'm like, Mom, I need 50 cents. I've got to get this Hoop magazine. I've got to find out,
Yeah.
And anyway, so what happened? They started reserving copies of magazines for me at the news agency, and I'd buy them when I could afford them.
How good a player were you?
I was okay. I was a
you can
rotation
shoot
player.
it.
I can shoot. Yeah. I'm a decent shooter.
Yeah.
And I played in men's leagues in high school and things like that, but I was never ever close to getting paid to play.
So when these runs are organized for you, are you ever like, man, I might walk onto a floor here with a bunch of guys who are better than I am, and they're thinking, oh, here comes the guy from Atlanta, the starters, the no dunks dude. who's looking for run, and are you feeling like, man, I better be making my J?
Yes and no. I mean, ultimately, I know I can make shots. I know I can do that, but it's more about I want everyone to feel welcome. And I never want this to be like you've got to be a certain standard or a certain level. Boys, girls, men, women. I want everyone to feel if I'm on the court, you're welcome to come and play. It's not about, I'm not keeping scores. I'm not like, yes, I won. I mean, you play to win, of course.
Yes.
But you don't.
You just play to play.
You play to play.
Yeah.
And, when I was playing in Serbia, for example, some of those guys are big guys. I mean, they're setting picks, and then in Africa, I was playing in Kenya. I mean, and I was the only white guy on the court. There was no we're going to go easy on this guy. I got hit a few times, but it's all fun. It's all fair. It's not, no one's playing dirty. And that's what you want. You're
hooping.
You're hooping.
Yeah.
You're hooping.
So about 20 years ago, I said, you know what? I want to go to Australia. And I said, man, the only thing I know about Australia is Sydney. And I says, Sydney it is. So I went to Sydney, had a great week and a half, and everybody was fantastic. But they said to me, I said, I'm coming back here. They said, no, you got to go to Perth and Melbourne. And I said, what? They says, you can't. And she said, everybody come to Sydney because that's what they know. It's everybody talk. We got a new show on CBS called Sydney. It's NCIS. But what would you recommend? First of all, where were you? I know you were born there. What city? But also, would you recommend Perth and Melbourne?
Absolutely, because Melbourne, believe it or not, has had the most number one overall draft picks in NBA history. Kyrie Irving was born in Melbourne.
Are you going to count that?
I'm just saying born in Melbourne.
Okay.
I didn't say he was Australian.
Got to count it.
Ben Simmons was born in Melbourne. And Andrew
you really going to count that one?
And Andrew Bogut was born in Melbourne too.
Okay, you can count that one. You can count that one.
So I'm saying it's a great place too. But of course, Dante Exum, another player who's currently playing really well
He's
for the
playing well right now.
His father
Yes.
Cecil played. This is the craziest thing. So in the 90s, in the NBL, the Australian League, we had Dave Simmons, who's Ben Simmons' dad, playing. Cecil Exum, who's Dante Exum's dad, playing. We had a player called Dean Utoff, whose son Jared Utoff had a cup of coffee in the NBA as well. So all these players now, and Brett Brown was a coach, the former Sixers coach. He coached the North Melbourne Giants there as well. So the connections for me, seeing the sons of fathers who I followed as a kid playing in the NBA has been incredible.
So you would recommend Perth?
Perth is a beautiful city, absolutely beautiful city. Yes. Yeah.
So in this amazing journey on all these different places you played, what's been the weirdest thing you have eaten?
Caterpillar in Zambia. And it was the first thing I ate.
Small world.
Wait, the caterpillar?
Yeah. I turned up in Lusaka, the capital, and I said, every time I go to a place, I say, listen, I don't want, pizza and hot dogs. I want what the locals eat. And in Zambia, they have this thing called shima, where it's basically like, it's basically like dough, and they bring out all the meal, and then you sort of sop it up, and then you eat it like that, and you share all this as well. So there's no like plates individually. There's a big plate there. You get
everybody's
it. And so they took me to this very traditional place, and the lady said, I can't remember the word in Zambian, but I said to her, she said it, and I said, oh, what is that? She said, caterpillar. I said, oh, I noticed you didn't say caterpillar off the top. You just said,
That's funny.
yeah. So,
Wow.
So is it a bunch of caterpillars, or is it a plate of individual?
I mean, when I've told that story before, people assume it's like this caterpillar sort of, but it's not. It's cooked, and it's kind of crispy, and to be perfectly honest, it doesn't really taste.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I'm from Alabama. We fry everything, and it all tastes good. Everything we just fry everything, and it's good to go. Yeah, let's just deep fry it. It's good.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk logistics here. I want to know how this works. You paying your way to all these places, or are some of these places? Yeah, we got run. We'll buy your plane ticket.
Both. Yeah. So ultimately, what I'm trying to do is, when people invite me to a place, I say, can you help sort of finance this, because I am self-funded right now, and the ultimate goal is to get it on Netflix. Now, that's not something that's going to happen, I don't think, tomorrow, but what I'm trying to do right now is build up the audience, to get my following to growing, so people are seeing what I'm doing. And so then when I go to these places, I'm like, listen, you're not just say paying for me to go to play and then I leave. I'm trying to host clinics with local kids. I've been given some jerseys by a sponsor in Australia who I give away those jerseys to people who turn up. And then I actually, last year when I went to Africa, I contacted several NBA teams and the WNBA. And I said, look, I know you guys have got cupboards of empty, playoff T-shirts and promo T-shirts. Can I have those? And I'll give them away when I'm in Africa. And so many teams stepped up, and the WNBA stepped up. And so when I was in Zambia, for example, and again, it's really important. Probably the most important thing is that I say to the people who are helping me organize it, girls, bring as many females as you can, because I don't want this to be just like a guys playing basketball.
Right.
So these girls turned up in Zambia, and I gave them the WNBA uniforms, these orange jerseys and short. You should have seen the strut on them. They just felt amazing. And so, for me to have, facilitated that is a very fulfilling feeling. Like, I don't want the praise. I'm not looking for the praise. I'm just looking to say, like, hey, we can do these things. It's not hard to do. I send a few emails, I get a response, and then again, like I say, the WNBA and the NBA just said, here's tons of T-shirts.
Have you ever felt unsafe?
No, I won't. No, I haven't ever felt unsafe. In Ljubljana in Slovenia, I was out for dinner with Luka Doncic's father, Sasha. And we were
I want to hear that story too, but finish the answer to Chuckster.
And so we were the last ones in this restaurant. It was late at night, and I went to the restroom, and as I was coming back, some guy just came out of nowhere. I don't know where he came from, and he was ranting and raving at me in Slovenia. I was like, what's going on? And Sasha was there. He'd just been to the restroom as well. And he sort of came over and just put his arm around the guy and calmed him down and sent him on his way. But I was just like, I don't know where this guy's come from.
You don't know why he was yelling at you? That's funny.
Other than, the only thing I can assume, this was like 1 o'clock in the morning. He'd been drinking and, he was just ranting and raving. But I've been to, places in Africa where, like in Nairobi, where I played on the Giants of Africa court in Umoja there. That's as traditional Kenyan, Nairobian as you can imagine. And it was incredible. I never felt unsafe. The people took great care of me. And look, I'm aware that, when you travel, you always have to have a certain level of, caution wherever you go. I mean, in America, you have to be cautious.
Hey, it's safer over there than America right now.
I mean, we don't need to get into the gun violence, but I've never felt that sort of, that level of uncertainty. But I've traveled, extensively in my life in my 20s as a backpacker and things like that. And so, when you travel, that's part of the experience.
How have you dealt with missing your kids and your kids missing you? And do they ever go with you on these trips? And I mean, God bless Roxana.
Yeah.
Who looked at this, as you already pointed out and said, go for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do it without her support. No, I mean, she's from Lima, my wife. She grew up in Peru. And so when we actually talked about this, I mean, she grew up in an environment in the 80s where there were constant terrorism threats. The economy and the political situation was kind of always unstable. It still is to some extent.
Wait, so you mean like here?
But so she's someone who has overcome enormous obstacles as a woman. In Canada, she forged a very successful career. She's done the same thing here in Atlanta in America. So she's taken on bigger challenges than I've ever taken on and thrived. As far as our kids, I mean, of course, that's easily the most challenging thing, to be away from my boys for more than a few days at a time. And it's hard, but I'm also, to do what I'm doing takes obviously effort and sacrifice. And so I try to not be away for too long, but I also try to be very productive when I'm there so that it's valuable what I'm doing and what I'm trying to build here. And my boys really just like, what souvenirs have you got for me, Dad?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially my 7-year-old.
Do they like sports?
Yes, they do. They're not huge basketball fans. They love soccer. They're big soccer fans. They like basketball, but they're not, like, I don't say you must like basketball because I like it. They shoot around with me, but they don't play it. They play with their friends.
Yeah, but they prefer soccer.
They prefer soccer, yeah.
This is, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're away from home and you're kind of reflecting on how that day went, what are the moments, Leigh, that are standing out? And because this just seems to me like, it's wonderful to go play hoop, but I just think it just shrinks the world a little bit. It makes and it just brings some people together who would not have been, and you learn about each other, and it just seems like an awesome thing. At the end of the day, what are the things that make you say, wow, I can't believe I was part of this today?
Honestly, just doing it. Like everyone's got a dream and an idea of what they want to do. And until you actually say, hard decision, I'm doing it, and then you go there and you actually are there and experience it, you're like, wow. I mean, this might not end up on Netflix. It might end up nowhere, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. You know,
Right.
When I left the No Dunks crew, I said to the guys, I'm not afraid of failing. I'm afraid of sitting at that desk and in 3 years' time going, man, should I have done that?
Yeah.
And when I stayed so when I was in Kenya after the game, I spent 2 days in the Masai Mara, one of the most incredible natural wonders of the world, with nature's animals just roaming free, lions and cheetahs and giraffes.
Wow.
And I woke up in the morning to these hippos with this enormous bellowing sound, and it was beautiful. It was just you're just like, wow, this is nature right here. And so, for me, I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't take some chances in my earlier life, as far as being Australian, wanting to be in the NBA and trying to dream, how am I going to get to the NBA? Now, I didn't make it as a player as I envisioned, but I made it in a different way. And that only happened because I took a few chances. I didn't know what was going to happen. Your book, Unscripted.
Yeah.
The BlackBerry moments that you talk about.
Exactly.
The best moments in life tend to be the ones that you can't possibly
Absolutely.
conceive.
Absolutely.
They happen because you're just like, hey, you want to do something? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Have you considered partnering with any NBA players?
I mean, I haven't because I haven't really felt, I don't want to pitch someone and say, I need money. I want a strategic partner. So someone who's got a real investment in what I'm doing.
Yeah, because I would say, let's just pick somebody random. Let's say my man Ginobili.
Oh, yeah.
If you said,
Yeah.
hey, let's go spend a couple days. He don't even have to play, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a player who's still playing.
Yeah.
That might, but it'd be great exposure for them and you, because they could sell, number one, this hypothetical, they could sell a bunch of shoes or whatever, but also going back to their homeland as quote unquote a conquering hero, teaching kids how to play basketball for a couple of days could really, really make this thing explode.
Well, that's the thing. And I feel I'm going to be in a stronger position to pitch people when I've got, a bigger audience.
Okay.
And I'm starting to get much better traction now on my videos. Like I've had a couple of videos with over millions of views.
Wow.
And so people are noticing. And so now it's about, when you pitch something, it's like Shark Tank. I sort of feel like I'm on Shark Tank a bit, where Mark Cuban's there and it's like, Mark Cuban he doesn't want to do the work. He wants the idea basically so that he can then blow it up. And that's how I sort of feel when I get to that position where I feel ready to say to someone, look, I've got something tangible. Here's evidence. Look at the audience. Let's do it. Then it becomes an easier sell, I think. But I'm still sort of getting to that point.
Maybe Mark Cuban listens to the pod.
Hey,
He's been on the steam room before.
Well, he has been on the steam room, and now that he's
got time and the money,
got plenty of time, and just got that cool $3 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got plenty of money and time.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of money and time.
But it's again, it's about, I want someone who's really invested in what I'm doing as well, because then it can help make things happen. And Manu Ginobili is actually my dream, because Bahia Blanca, where he's from, is a huge basketball community. Argentina, one of the biggest basketball playing nations. They didn't actually make the World Cup or the Olympics, but prior to that, of course, they won the Olympics in 2004 in where was that? Athens.
I actually love what you're doing for the simple fact, I tell people, sports are unique because it brings everybody together, and you don't have time to think about BS. You're like, let's just play ball. You don't care who's playing with you. You just want to win. And it's two things, food and sport.
True. That's 100% true.
Because those two things bring people together more than anything. And I love the fact that you're spreading the gospel of basketball. Like I tell people, man, I said it earlier, man, I love basketball. I love sports. Because sports is like, hey, no racism. We don't care who's got the most money. We don't care who's dressed the best. You roll the ball out there, y'all team up, and you try to win. There's no other job in the world other than sports where you like, no, you're not going to get the job just because of who you know. You're going to have to go out there and play, and y'all going to have to find a way to make it work. And when it works, it's beautiful. Now, when it doesn't work, it's shit. I'll be the first to admit that.
But listen, but you always learn, don't you? I
Yes.
mean, you can't, like, I know, Michael obviously is the greatest player we've ever seen. And I've heard him say several times, if he didn't have to go through the Pistons the way that he did, he may not have won those 6 championships because the Pistons beat the hell out of him.
Yes.
And so, like, it does, just because it didn't work out those years doesn't mean it's never going to work out or that it's not building towards something. And so that's the other thing about food and basketball. It's that shared experience. And it's like you're going through something and you learn and you want to get better and you want to do it again and again. And those emotions, when I'm in these places, most of the time after the run, we go and have a beer.
Yeah.
And we go and drink and eat. And it's like in Ljubljana in Slovenia, it was funny. We started playing. 45 minutes after we started playing, it started raining. The guy's like, well, now when I say raining, it was sprinkling down a little bit of water. It's too wet. Let's go to the pub. 45 minutes on the court, 5 hours later in the pub, we were still there drinking. So,
was this as the Washington Post put it, the raucous 6-hour meal with Luka's dad?
No, that was actually the next night. So a friend of mine in Ljubljana, I said, listen, does Sasha Doncic give interviews? I'd love to speak to him. And he said he doesn't give many, but I'll ask him. And he did. And so we had an interview. And then after the interview, Sasha said, do you want to come out for some Slovenian barbecue? I said, yeah, of course. I thought we'd go for a meal and a glass of wine. And 5-6 hours later, he was still pouring the wine. We would drink. I was just like drunk and full of meat. And every dish came out seemed to be more and more meat and more food. And it got to the point, it was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to catch a bus to Zagreb the next morning. I hadn't packed. I didn't know where my hotel was.
That must have been a heck of a bus ride after that night.
It was, and when you get home, you're like, I got to pack and I got to be up in 5 hours. And I had a great night, but I just, it was amazing. And Sasha was an incredibly warm, generous man, telling me all sorts of stories, but just making you feel like he was really waiting for you to turn up there. When you're at a place and someone's like, it's like, man, this person was really showing me everything they could about their city. And it was just incredible. I had so much fun.
What memories.
Yeah.
Hey, so we have an Australian here. When you think of Australian basketball, first name that comes to mind?
Shane Hill.
How about that?
Wow.
Andrew Gaze finds Bradley, and here's Heald for another 3, and he hits. He only is allowed to miss 1 in the game because he's got 4 out of 5.
Get off me, little man.
He'll just sit again. He and Barkley just collided.
He took a run at him, man.
He took a run at me. I tried to play good defense, which I didn't hit him.
Lower a shoulder into him.
How was there not a foul on that play, by the way?
Well, we were up like 50. You're not going to shoot like a running clock. I used to, we became friends later because I love this competitiveness, and, you talk about Ben Simmons, you talk about Andrew Bogut, who was fabulous when the Warriors won the championship. Actually, one of my teammates, Copeland.
Leonard Copeland.
That's him.
He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia.
Yeah.
Played with me for the Sixers. Moved to Australia.
Yeah.
Married an Australian girl. Played basketball over there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And has been there for close to 30 years now.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. He's just a really good dude. And he says, and like I say, I loved it over there. I went to the Star City Casino. I think that's where I was. The Star City Casino.
So let me ask you about that incident there with Shane, because it was a friendly, by the way. It was a pre-Olympic tournament. Did you know about him or did you do any scouting? No. So what did you think in that moment when he's hitting all those shots?
I was like, man, this little guy can play. Because it lets you know. Because, like, I can name some guys, Oscar Smith, Arvydas Sabonis, Marciulionis, Dino Rajda. Like, these guys came over here and made all-star teams. Oscar Smith is probably, in my opinion, the greatest Drazen Petrovic.
Yeah.
But Oscar Smith is probably the greatest player who never came over here. He's probably the greatest player.
Brazil, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Schmidt,
He's,
yeah.
I think
And
he's
he-
still the Olympic leading scorer, I think.
Yes, he was fabulous.
Yeah.
And he was an awesome man, but he was a great, great player. But,
Yeah.
Sabonis came over later.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dino and all those guys, Vlade, obviously. But Oscar Schmidt was probably the greatest international player who never came to actually play in the States. But Shane actually came over and had, but I love the fact how competitive he was. And that didn't bother me, him bumping into me. I actually loved it because you want people to be able to compete. But I tell you what, Ernie, it was so freaking beautiful over there.
I've been there.
You have? Oh, yeah, you
To
did.
Australia,
You
yeah.
did some.
The
some,
Olympics.
some
The Olympics in
yeah.
Sydney
Yes,
at NBC.
yes.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is a beautiful, beautiful place.
And did the Goodwill Games over there too in Brisbane.
Brisbane, saying it like a local too.
Yeah, there
not
you go.
Brisbane.
Yes, exactly.
Now, actually, before I came on here, I actually spoke to Shane.
Did you?
And I asked him to send you a message, and he did. And he's actually, I think we've got it, and there's actually a little offer in there for you too.
G'day, Sir Charles. This is your mate Shane Heel, or as Big Shaq called me when he was down under, Little Shane. Anyway, I still get asked what happened on that famous day in Utah, little fracas between the Dream Team and Australia. Well, I reckon it's time in 2024. We brought you down under, we gathered a big crowd, had a couple of beers and told a few stories. Maybe we could do a couple of venues. I reckon we make it happen. Good on you, buddy. Cheers.
So there you go.
Let's make that happen this summer.
Let's do it.
It would be an honor and a privilege to see him again. It'd be great to see Leonard. Leonard is one of my favorite teammates. We used to give him a bunch of shit because in his bio, he said he was majored in aeronautical engineering. And we said, what's that, a sky cap? I said, they're not going to let your ass near a plane. We should give him something and say, hey, sky cap. We gave him the nickname Sky Cap. He said, yo, man, y'all need to leave me alone. He said, dude, you don't want to put aeronautical engineering as your major. They're not going to let you near a plane. They're not even going to let you fix a plane. And he is from Atlanta.
Yeah, he is. He's from Marietta,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really a great kid.
He's a great guy, Leonard. Yeah, he and Andrew Gaze.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's another one.
Yeah.
Don't want to leave him out.
No.
I mean, because, man, that dude could shoot that thing.
He took down Kenny in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Remember at the, or was it Sydney? It was one of those anyway. He took down
Man.
Kenny and
I would love to go. Let's do something in Australia.
there you go. We're going to get you in Australia because
I would love to.
the demand for you to go out there is off the chart.
Oh,
So,
it would be fun.
all right, let's do it.
You are 18 countries into your 2020, and as to steal one of your lines, just on this whole initiative, everything you've done, it's a very solid play.
You 18 countries?
Yes.
You know, I have this fantasy when I.
Uh-oh.
No, seriously, this is
Well,
true
we're in the
story.
steam room, I guess.
No. This is actually. I was talking to my daughter about this. Whenever I retire, I'm gonna get a big fish bowl and put all the countries in there. She said, Dad, you know there's hundreds of countries, right? I said, there is? She says, there's, I don't even know how many.
197, I think.
197?
Yeah.
She said, there's over 100 countries. I said, well, that's fine. I says, this is what your dad want to do. So once a month, I'm going to stick my hand in a bowl and just pick out some random country and say, let's go for a week. So you've done that many, but you still got 100 and some to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. The original target was 20. This is the T-shirt I've got here, 20, 20, 20. And that was just like, can I even get to 20? Mm-hmm. And now I'm 18, 14 months in.
You're not going to stop at 18,
I've got
at 20.
I've got so many more offers now. It's just, can I get to them all?
Right.
And
What we got to do before Australia too, we got to go to Canada. Canada's my favorite
You can go to
place.
Canada anytime.
I know that, but it's another country, dude.
I know, but you can go there
I
anytime.
know,
man.
but I can go play
Work
basketball.
takes you
I can
there
go visit my
sometimes.
friends.
I
know.
had a great run in Toronto, actually, at the
My
Underpass
favorite
store,
city
yeah.
in the whole world.
What,
It's
Toronto?
Like, yes, it's like New York with nice people. That's what I call Toronto. And clean.
See, that's a good line right there.
It is.
Lee, it's great to see you, man. Thank you so
Continued
much for
success,
taking
brother.
the time to be
Hey,
here.
listen, Let's go to Australia.
Hey, it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to happen. And I just want to say before we go, congratulations to you, Ernie, Hall of Famer.
No, I
incredible,
appreciate you.
Incredible achievement.
Well deserved,
Very kind
Ernest.
of you. Thank you.
You really have been.
You should have been there. He brought all those badass grandkids up there.
Yes, we did.
They fit right
the Johnson
into New
family
York.
took over New York for 3 days.
Honestly, though, everyone knows who you are, and so to get that achievement is very well deserved.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks. Thanks for being here.
Chuck and Ernie in the steam room. Come and join us in the steam room. Chuck and Ernie in the steam room. Leave your towel on in the steam room.
Chuck and Ernie in the steam room. Chuck and Ernie in the steam room. Leave your towel on in the steam room.
Welcome back.
Oh, man, I never get tired of hearing that.
Hearing yourself singing it.
Well, the little stringy thing. What they call that?
Stand-up bass.
Stand-up bass.
Or also called a stringy thing.
Okay, the stringy thing. I'm musically talented.
Yes, you are. What's the number of the Chuck's answering machine?
404.
Yes.
987.
Yes.
0330.
Hey, the first time in your career.
Okay.
And we're 4 years into the steam room that you've actually gotten it. 404-987-0330.
What's Cheryl Ann's phone number?
You think I'm going to put that out?
No, I'm just saying. You knew it by heart?
Yes, I do.
Okay, my bad. Okay.
I don't know everybody's anymore because that's what phones have done to you.
Nobody knows anybody.
No, I know Shirley.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. There are enough times where you're filling out paperwork at the doctor or someplace and it's emergency contact, so you can't just say, just hit Cheryl on my phone. It's just you have to remember some of those. We got 4 calls from what I understand.
Okay, let's do it.
That's what Cap Cappington, our producer, says, and so here's number 1.
Hello, world. This is Charles Barkley. Leave me a message.
Hi, Charles. This is Alfonso from Manila. So I always hear you that you always have these people you'd like to meet, like Bryan Cranston, and you always say that you get irritated or bothered when people walk up to you to say hi when you're having a good meal. So I would just like to ask, as a person who would like to meet you, and for all the loyal steamers, what should we do when we see you? Should we send you a drink? Should we just say hi? Is it okay to take a photo? Thank you. Always a loyal steamer.
Wow.
A call from the Philippines with a questioning what are the ground rules in approaching the Chuckster.
I think you always sign autographs and take pictures. I think any celebrity should do that. If somebody is kind enough to acknowledge you, I always believe you sign autographs and take pictures. First of all, now, the only time you don't do it is when somebody's eating. The rest of the time, I think...
Especially when you're eating.
Especially when you're eating. When I'm eating. No, because it's annoying when you putting a piece of food in your mouth and somebody asks for an autograph, you have to put the meal down and then... Because what happens is, what they don't understand is...
And then you take a picture and you got something in your teeth.
No, not even worried about that, because once somebody interrupts you at dinner, that gives everybody else the right to do it.
Right.
And then it kind of becomes a revolving door.
But if you're having a pop at the bar before dinner...
No, you can always say hello.
He says, does he need to send a drink over to you?
No, just come up and say hello. I'll take it as a compliment. Listen, there's nobody can say, I'm not signing autographs and taking pictures. I'm going to always sign autographs. That goes with the job.
Right.
Yeah, they're not paying you all that money just to play basketball. I mean, that's part of the job. So you don't have to buy anybody a drink. You meet a celebrity. Now, the only problem is some celebrities are assholes. They wouldn't
have the same ground rules that you would have.
Yeah. But some people just rude.
Yeah.
Some celebrities just rude to people. I mean, some of my friends are rude to people, and it embarrasses me. If somebody want to say hello to me and take a picture, I'm going to, hey, let's take a picture. I'll be happy to shake your hand and sign something. But like I say, I got celebrity friends who are just total assholes.
Call number 2.
Hi, Chuck. This is Alex from Toronto. I was wondering, in your personal opinion, what is Shaq's most ridiculous endorsement? Thanks. Take care.
What is
Shaq's most ridiculous endorsement? I don't know if he has really ridiculous ones. He just has a lot of them.
He has a lot of them. Did you get your machine?
Oh, my printer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's always, he sent me the Epson.
That's a nice thing.
It's a really great printer. I use it in my home office.
I went to Staples this morning.
Did you really?
Yes.
What were you looking for?
The big calendar, the New Year's calendar. So I keep my schedule, wanted like the really big calendar.
Like to lay on your desk?
Yeah.
How about your phone?
No, I need to. Anytime I'm in the kitchen, I want to know what I got planned for the next week. No, I don't do it on my phone. No, because I'm old. Listen, there's
Welcome to 2024.
Hey, there's 100% chance I'm gonna be in the kitchen. So having it laid out right there, I just so
did you find? Did you find it?
But they got 1 million pictures of his fat ass in all over the store.
Yeah,
with
next
Epson.
to his printers and stuff.
Oh my God! They had to have.
There was no escaping, Shaq.
They had to have at least 10 pictures of his fat ass all over the store. And so
you should have taken a selfie.
Yeah. Okay. No, I complained. I said, "Why y'all got this fat dude?" I did. I complained. I said, "Why y'all got this fat ass dude all over the place in here?" So I was looking at my schedule. So I've got to go to New York next week because I've got.
King Charles.
No, we off again next week. I got Colbert Tuesday. I think me and Gail are doing Stephen Colbert, which I'm looking forward to because I really like Colbert. And then Wednesday, I'm doing her morning show for the first time. So I was looking at my schedule for next week because then I fly to Atlanta and do the show. And then I got 3 days of Capital One
for March Madness.
For March Madness.
That's a busy week, Chuckster. You need a big old calendar.
Yeah,
to write all that stuff down.
I can't write all that stuff down on the phone.
Yeah, but once you hit New York, that calendar is going to be still in your kitchen.
Yeah,
unless you're going to tote that around with you.
I fly back to Atlanta and see I got to be here Thursday, and then I got 3 days of Capital One.
Yeah, but what are you going to do on that Wednesday when you're in New York and you don't have that calendar in front of you?
Well, I'll be flying back to Atlanta.
Okay, next call.
Okay.
Hey, Chuck. This is Mel from Chicago. Big fan, longtime fan. My question for you is, when was the last time you played a game of basketball, like an actual full game of basketball, either full court or half court?
Great question. I've never touched a basketball since the last night I played in the NBA.
You've touched a basketball.
I've touched one, but I've never played since that night. Number one, I might kill myself if I tried to play basketball again because you've done so much damage to your body. I mean, the reason, you can't go out and try to play basketball. Nothing good is going to happen if you try to run up and down a basketball court. But the last time I played was my last night in the NBA.
How about that morning in Oklahoma City during the Western Conference Finals when you and I had a three-point shootout? What year was that? That had to be about 8 years ago or so. 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah, it was about that because I had just become a grandfather for the first time.
See, because it's hard for me to get motivated for certain things.
Yeah, well, who won that?
Ernie,
who won that?
Ernie, you're a good shooter. I will give you credit. You're not a good player, but you're a good shooter.
Good shooter. Yeah.
You're a good shooter. Those are two different things.
Hit half my threes that day.
I know. You got a good jump shot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you got a good jump shot.
Keep it coming. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, so that, but as far as playing half court or full court, I'd be scared to play basketball because I know I'd hurt something.
By the way, that video is available on YouTube.
Hey, my man, let me tell you something. To answer your question, when I first got to the NBA, All-Star Weekend, we used to have an old-timers game. And let me tell you something. It was ACLs, hamstring, groins. We couldn't get Achilles. So, hey, old people cannot play basketball because especially if you play in the NBA. Like if you've been playing in a church league or a rec league, you probably can keep playing. But the NBA is hard on your body. So we used to laugh every year at the All-Star game. Once I start making All-Star team, like, yeah, man, this is a bad idea. All these old dudes out here trying to play basketball. But after 10 to 15 ACLs, Achilles, and they're like, yeah, we better stop this.
Let's take that off the schedule for All-Star Weekend.
Let's take that off the schedule, yes.
Next call.
Hi, Ernie. Hi, Charles. It's Mike from Miami, Florida. I really enjoy the new segment, Good for the Soul, and I think they did a great job with the lead-in. Which brings me to my question. What scenes from movies make you cry? I agree with the ending to It's a Wonderful Life, and would also add in Field of Dreams when Kevin Costner plays catch with his dad. What are the movies that get you choked up? Thanks.
Those are the two right off the bat that kind of hit me. And also, Father of the Bride. Have you ever watched Father of the Bride with Steve Martin?
No.
Oh, you need to watch that movie. When he's thinking about, he's visualizing his daughter growing up, and yeah, that's another one.
I'm gonna do sports movies.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's song.
Right. That's going back a long way.
That's gonna make you cry.
The Brian Piccolo, yes. Gale Sayers.
That's gonna definitely make you cry.
Yep.
I love Remember the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The scene.
But did that make you cry?
Yeah. Remember when the kid got hit the first time, but when he was in the car wreck the first time and he was paralyzed in the hospital, that made me cry. And then when he got killed at the end. And that was I got a chance to meet Coach Moore, and it was one of the coolest things. The guy Denzel played.
Right.
That was really one of the coolest things, got to meet Coach. I mean, I think I met him at the Jimmy V Classic one year, and it was an honor and a privilege. And I tell you, I love the other coach, played by Will Patton. Will Patton's one of my favorite actors. Kids, look up Will Patton. He's a fantastic character actor. You know, him and J.K. Simmons.
Have you seen Whiplash yet?
I have not seen Whiplash yet. I do that just to annoy you.
Dog. Yeah, you do annoy me with it.
I do.
Trying to help you out.
J.K. Simmons, man, he is just a tremendous. I met him. I bothered him in the weight room, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
But it goes back to our other question. When somebody's trying to work out, don't bug them. But
you did to J.K. Simmons.
We wasn't going to be in the same place. We haven't been in the same place since then. I couldn't let it pass, Ernie.
What was he doing?
That's like he was working out. I can't remember. That's like I was in L.A. one time with my agent, and we had shot like 3 or 4 days, and I was exhausted. I said, I'm going to take a nap before dinner. He said, I'm going to go work out. I said, okay. He goes to the gym, and Paul McCartney's in there. We get to dinner. He says, yeah, Paul McCartney was in the... I said, yo, man, why didn't you wake me up? He says,
yeah.
You told me you wanted to take a nap. I said, you knew I wanted to meet Paul McCartney, fool. He says, dude, you told me you wanted to take a nap. I said, I did want to take a nap. But I didn't need a nap if Paul McCartney was going to be in the gym. But I got a chance to meet Paul McCartney at the White House.
I still want to meet him. I still want to meet Paul McCartney.
You know, Ernie, when you meet somebody like that.
First concert I ever saw. Beatles.
Really?
The Beatles.
You know, when you meet somebody like that and they're nice, man, it's the greatest thing. I met him and Meryl Streep. I was like, hey, we're not going to be in the same place as Paul McCartney and Meryl Streep. I got to say hello to these two people. And they were both so kind. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool.
Hey, you ever stayed at Shutters in L.A.?
I have.
Real nice.
Shutters by the Sea.
Yeah, real nice. Real nice. I was in the gym one day. This was back in '95 before I did the PGA Championship for the first time. Got into town, went down to the gym, and there were only 2 people in there, me and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Y'all got the same body type.
I was afraid to even touch a weight. I was just like, is this guy going to be done anytime soon?
Hey.
Because I don't want to see him. I don't want him looking over me when I got the executive dumbbells doing my curls. It's like I just kind of stood around in the corner, stretched for about 45 minutes till he left.
Honestly, I met him a couple times, 3 or 4 times, I think. He's always been cordial and great to meet. I mean, and like I say, there's nothing worse when you meet a celebrity and they're a total asshole.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to call anybody outright.
Good. You shouldn't. Hey, can we move on?
Yes, we can. We're done. That's the 4th call.
Good for the soul.
Yeah, good for the
good for the soul.
EJ is good for the soul.
I think that would be a great way to end the show.
Love that idea.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.
All right, we talked a couple episodes ago about getting things in the mail that folks want you to sign.
Yes.
And how you said, look, all my All my mail now is just, you don't even open it. It's in the trash.
It's in the trash.
Well, I get these on a pretty regular basis. And so I will sign. I don't know how people get my home address.
It's called the internet, Ernie.
But I'll sign these cards and that kind of thing. So a couple of weeks ago, I get this one and had got a couple of my cards in here, and it's got 3 Charles Barkley cards.
Imagine that.
And this was sent on November 25th of this past year. Okay. A few, couple months ago.
Way to get around to it, Ernie.
No, but listen to me. Enclosed is also a letter dated June 15th, 2020.
What?
So this comes with the letter. And I'm like, and it's a note to you.
To me?
Yeah. And so this is the Good for the Soul segment. Because apparently in Narberth,
yes,
Pennsylvania,
yes,
there was a fire and an evacuation at a condo.
Yes.
Oak Hill.
Yes.
Back in, I think it was the spring of 2020.
Yes.
So, dear Mr. Barkley, you wouldn't remember me specifically, but I'm one of the firefighters that was there at the Oak Hill that night around midnight-ish when there was an evacuation and everyone was made to stand outside at the late hour. You were very appreciative we showed up and told us to stay safe. What I didn't get a chance to tell you was that I saw and appreciate what you did for your neighbors. You were actively seeking out information on whether a neighbor in a wheelchair made it out safely. You even left and returned with a seat for an elderly neighbor to sit on. I just want you to know that your acts of kindness do not go unnoticed. Thank you for being the guy I looked up to in a realistic way, then as a boy and now as a man with 4 young kids of my own. Please accept this gift from my fire department. It would be amazing if you could sign those for my kids. The frames are already picked out. The letter enclosed is one I wrote in mid-2020 during COVID, and after a fire at his apartment building in PA, I've been holding on to this, waiting for a chance to get it to him. I'd understand if this never makes it to him, but I'm humbly asking if you might give this to Mr. Barkley. Thank you for even considering my request. Feel free to read it and decide.
Wow.
So it's not necessary to name the guy who wrote the letter, just a firefighter from Pennsylvania who remembers what you did on that night.
Wow.
And looking out for other folks. And
That's
me, that is good for the soul.
It is, man. I always say it. I said, teacher, fireman, policeman, anybody in the armed service, nurses. Man, I just got a lot of love for people who do selfless jobs. I says, guys like myself who become wealthy beyond our means and lucky because we dribble a stupid basketball. We're just the luckiest people in the world. This guy, run into burning buildings, I'd be happy to sign it for him.
Good. We'll get that done here. Just 3 cards.
Yeah, no problem.
And I will get them back in the mail to him. And thank you for sending that.
And thank you for taking the time to write the letter.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Wrote that in 2020.
Wow.
And just held on to it, said, when's it going to be a good time? And boom, this was the perfect time.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine being a fireman. So let me get this straight. You're running into the building that's on fire? Because, one of my favorite shows is Chicago Fire.
Right.
Thank y'all for coming back. FBI Tuesdays, Chicago's on Wednesday. I have missed y'all so much. I have missed y'all on Tuesday and Wednesday. I have nothing to do on Tuesday and Wednesday without FBI. Hey, Maggie and my man Zaki. And shout out to Derek Haas, who produces the shows. But Maggie and Zico, man, I miss y'all. And my guys on Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, man, I have missed y'all so much. Welcome back. Welcome back.
So that goes from good for the soul to I don't know what that last thing was. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Steam Room. We appreciate y'all watching, listening. I guess you could watch a little bit if we are videoing it.
And we got the perfect face for television, too. At least I do.